We have Al Robinson. He's the author and creator of Hat City Blogs. And Al, you had some questions as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about something that I think is a great thing that's happening in the state right now, which is the public financing of campaigns. I know this year is the first year where we have the new campaign laws into effect. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how it helps out challengers go against these incumbents and puts more of a more even playing field.
That's absolutely true, and it's actually an issue that I worked very hard on back in 2005 when it was passed. I was working with a group called Democracy for America, a grassroots community group, and we teamed up with Common Cause and the Connecticut Citizens Action Group and a bunch of other groups around the state to push for campaign finance reform, because we felt that what had happened in the Rowland years was directly tied to money sloshing around in politics from special interests, and we wanted to get the money of special interests out and get public financing in, because it was already being used in 2 states in the country, in Maine and in Arizona, and we felt that it was very successful, and I think it's the wave of the future. So very fortunately, Governor Rell supported that wholeheartedly.
Right, and if I'm correct, the other 2 states were by either a referendum or by the courts.
That's right. We are the first and only state to have passed public financing of elections in the state legislature, and I think the state legislature was pushed to do it because of the problems that we'd had. So what's happening this year, this is the first year for it, and it's right now for state senators and state representatives. In 2010, it'll also be for the governor and for all of the other constitutional officers. But what it does is it makes it open. It opens up the field for people to run. I only needed to raise $15,000. I had to get 300 contributions from people who live in the 7 towns in the district, and $15,000 altogether. And once I made that threshold, then the state will match, actually more than match, they'll provide $85,000 more, and there'll be a budget of $100,000 to run. So I'm using public financing. My opponent is using public financing. Tony is, although I think she voted against it in the state legislature. But it passed because there was bipartisan support for this. And in that case, it was bipartisan, meaning the governor, because there weren't a lot of Republicans who supported it. It was primarily coming from the Democrats. And we're seeing, I just saw some numbers today, and this is initial stages, and it's going to take a few years for it to really take effect because people still don't quite understand it. But we are seeing fewer unchallenged seats this year. In other words, more people are running than ran in the past.
I think Judith Friedman, if I'm correct, in the past 5 elections, she was only challenged, I think, twice.
Exactly.
Right, and it really evens out the playing field.
Exactly.
And I think that's a great thing, and I think it's also great that you both have the same amount of money, and no one person can't outraise the other one, and it makes it.
And you know, I finished my fundraising over a month ago, and that means that from here on out, all I need to do is to focus on the voters and on talking about the issues, finding out what people think, and telling them what I'd like to do. I don't have to raise another nickel. I don't have another campaign contribution. There's no special interest money, and I don't have any PAC money. Individual contributions are now limited to $100 as opposed to $250, and anyone who gave $5 or more gets counted in the campaign finance system for when you go to qualify. So it really did open up the system, and I think it's a great system.
The only rub with this whole thing is that the taxpayers now are paying for your bumper stickers, your lawn signs, your campaign.
You know, I think the taxpayers are getting a fabulous deal.
Because they get to see you, they get to see your bumper stickers?
No, not because they get to see me, obviously.
I'm joking.
What they get to do, though, is to save millions of dollars that were going into contracts that were put out in shady circumstances. If you think about, why did John Rowland go to jail? Because he was giving out contracts to his friends, and they were doing favors for him back. That has to stop. And we're taking...
Can't that just stop because you just don't do that, or you
go
to jail?
Well, you would think so.
Yeah.
You'd like to think so, but apparently it wasn't enough. And and John Rowland's not the only guy. We had problems in the cities in Bridgeport. We've had problems in Waterbury.
A little bit.
Yeah,
We've had problems all over with people. Wherever there's money, people are tempted to steal.
And I don't know about...
Take the money out, it reduces that temptation a lot.
Yeah, I mean, as a taxpayer, I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that lobbyists and PACs cannot contribute to your campaign, because if you have a lobbyist contribute to your campaign, they want something in return.
That's right.
And that's always been a problem in Connecticut.
Right.
So you use my money.
And when I go and talk to an organization about whether they want to support me, I'm not looking for a check.
Right.
I am looking for their support. I'll go and talk to somebody and I'll say, I'd like to have you support me, but what I need is for someone who will make phone calls, who will go door to door, who will write letters to their friends, what we think of as traditional campaigning, as opposed to simply writing a check and trying to buy influence. That's going away. It's not gone. And there'll always be influence in politics, and there'll always be money around. We know that. But this is a huge step forward, and I think the people of Connecticut are getting a great bargain.